Hello there. Great to see you all back here in the main hall, in the Gold Hall, on the main stage here for the grand finale, if you like, of the R&I Days 2025. Now, yesterday, we started this whole event talking about money, and we will close it as well on that very topic. This is all about the EU's long-term budget, and precisely on that 3% R&D investment target. This will be chaired by Marc Lemaitre, so we're thrilled to have you, and you will now go ahead and introduce your panelists. So really looking forward to this.
I haven't deserved that yet. Thank you very much, dear Master of Ceremonies, for introducing me. We have, I think, the best possible topic to wind up our two research and innovation days, namely this, unfortunately, until now, very elusive target that the EU set itself more than 20 years ago to reach an intensity of research and development as a share of GDP of 3%. More than 20 years ago, where were we more than 20 years ago? We were at a level of 1.8%. Where are we today? Today, we have progressed, but we are still closer to 1.8% than to 3%. We are at 2.2%. And while this could be considered progress, of course, it all depends on what the rest of the world does. And the rest of the world has not waited for us. They have surpassed us, left and right. The latest being China, which has sped past and which is now at 2.6% and growing very, very strongly. US, Japan, 3.5%. South Korea, nearly 5%. Mr. Draghi, 1 year ago, pointed to that. And yesterday, when we took stock in a conference not far from here, with President von der Leyen and with President Draghi, he was not fully satisfied with what had happened. And he was wondering whether enough was being done in order to really get our act together on research and innovation. I point just to the proposal on the Next Horizon Europe program that the Commission has done just before the summer. We have proposed a doubling in nominal terms over 7 years compared to the present period. Translated in terms of GDP, what does that mean? It means that we will move up from 0.08% of the EU's GDP for the Horizon Europe program to about 0.11%. So going up 0.03%. If member states were to do the same with their national spending over the next 7 years, i.e. doubling in nominal terms their public research and innovation budgets, we will have a fighting chance to be at 3%. So today we have an absolutely perfect panel, I think, to dive into the subject and in particular into the big question, how can we make it happen ultimately? We have with us Ms. Lina Galvez, member of the European Parliament and crucially member of the ITRE committee, which we trust will be again in charge of the proposal for the Next Horizon Europe program. We have Mr. Markku Markkula, an ever more committed actor of research and innovation in Finland and in Europe, and Vice President of the Committee of the Regions. And we have Mr. Alexandre Affray, Deputy Director General of Business Europe. And that's very important because the gap that we need to close is both on the public sector and on the private sector side when it comes to research and development. But before opening the debate with our panel, it is really my great pleasure to invite for a keynote speech Ms. Teresa Czerwinska, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, which is a very trusted partner of ours in research and development expenditure. Please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here and to see so many faces in this very auditorium. This is the second day of this very important event, and I see great interest of many panelists, many stakeholders of this debate. Ladies and gentlemen, as Mark has indicated, this panel is about 3% target set out in the Barcelona Declaration more than 20 years ago. And this conversation is extremely timely. We still currently stand slightly above 2% of GDP of investment in research and development. But this is not just a statistical gap. This is a strategic one. Europe's innovation deficit is driven by both public and private underinvestments, fragmented markets, uneven national strategies, and limited scale have held us back. But we can and we must change this trajectory. The European Investment Bank Group has been a committed and active partner in innovation and climate for many years. We see innovation as a cornerstone of Europe's competitiveness, resilience, and sovereignty. Our mission is to mobilize investment, de-risk innovation, and build ecosystem where ideas can flourish and scale. We have been providing long-term, very patient capital that national budgets and private investors often cannot. Just to give you an example, since 2000, we have invested about 300 billion euros in innovation only. This makes our portfolio the largest among development banks and building strong partnership across Europe and beyond. From our experience with the European Fund for Strategic Investments through InvestEU, we see a clear path for strengthening innovation financing in Europe and reach 3% target. This path must respond to robust market demand with a sizable, predictable, and flexible financing envelope for risk sharing. And let me start with the first. Sizable and predictable envelopes and programs, such as InvestEU, Horizon, have been a pillar for reaching the target. The IB Group has been the main implementing partner, and thanks to our strategic partnership with the Commission, over 1,000 operations have been approved to date. InvestEU was designed to boost innovation and job creation across Europe by de-risking investments. And under InvestEU, the IB Group has signed over 24 billion euros of financing across 4 main policy areas: sustainable infrastructure, research and innovation, support for SMEs, and social investment and skills. Under InvestEU, we offer a wide range of instruments, starting with venture debt for high-risk tech companies and the early commercial stage. We offer also indirectly quasi-equity products as to strengthen the capital base of companies with sustainable long-term growth for beneficiaries where traditional financing is unavailable or insufficient. Thanks to the cooperation with the Commission, we engage with some of the most prominent European deep tech startups in their R&D stage in life sciences, space technologies, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, batteries, and many other sectors. But to achieve the target, we also need to support scale-ups like our European Tech Champion initiative. Led by the European Investment Fund, it targets scale-up in venture capital funds focusing on innovative technologies companies in deep tech, digital AI, health and life sciences, space and defense, cybersecurity, quantum and climate impact. The funds managed by European Investment Fund invested more than 2 billion euros in 8 scale-up European funds, mobilizing up to 10 billion euros of public and private resources for European companies. And we look forward to working with the Commission's proposal for a new scale-up European fund to complement ETCI and ETCI2. Now, coming to simplification. We welcome very much the work on the omnibus proposal and encourage further simplification on mandates and reporting, because the time, as we said, is act now. We need to align with market standards and decrease the burden on smaller enterprises. On our side, we see concrete results, tangible results from mandate simplification in-house. Consolidated mandates shortens time to market, frees up resources and decreases red tape. And finally, flexibility. The IB Group is working closely with the Commission to ensure that InvestEU is implemented efficiently and flexibly. By leveraging the bank's thematic products, we are able to respond effectively to evolving policy changes and the needs on the market. The InvestEU member state compartments give member states the flexibility to address specific national needs and priorities while reaping the benefits of the EU guarantee. Member state compartment addresses fragmentation of national and EU-level investments. These have been critical in cohesion regions where innovation ecosystems are still emerging, such as Romania, Bulgaria, Malta, but also in others directions. But yet we know that more remains to be done. As a result, we decided to launch a Tech EU program, which is about providing 70 billion euros for innovation, digitalization and technology over 2025-2027 to mobilize up to 250 billion euros in investments. Tech EU finances European projects and companies from idea to IPO. It provides a complete palette of financial instruments across companies' growth and innovation cycle. And Tech EU will serve as a one-stop shop ensuring fast track for projects and in innovation area. By operating at the pan-European level, it strengthens the EU single market for innovative companies financing. In Tech EU, we focus resources where they are needed most. The group is stepping up existing successful instruments such as venture debt, indirect equity and co-investments, and launching new instruments such as acquisition finance and scale-up debt to cover existing gaps. And the program Tech EU will help ensure that European startups and scale-ups can remain in Europe through dedicated products supporting the exit phase of the company growth cycle. This program will make up about a quarter of the EIB Group's total financing, helping Europe lead in key areas like clean tech and digital and innovation. And we believe that green investments are powerful catalysts for innovation. In clean tech, we are supporting first-of-a-kind industrial projects through reinforced guarantees and high-coverage first-loss structures. These efforts are designed to unlock private investment and accelerate the deployment of transformative technologies. The first wave of instruments in Tech EU focuses on clean tech, including a top-up of the wind package, guarantee program, and 3 new instruments to support electricity grids components, facilitate power purchasing agreements, and cover clean tech innovators' investment and working capital needs. The last but not least component of Tech EU we have launched is Tech EU platform and investment readiness checker to support small companies to access in their access to financing. This platform also enables European companies to easily identify which EU funding options, including those from EIB and EIF, are best matched to their current stage of growth. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, to reach the target, we will need to activate even further private institutional investors, such as pension funds and insurance companies. This is essential to deepening Europe's innovation ecosystem and ensuring sustainable growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I really believe that this discussion is very timely, and I'm delighted to be with you today and to see once again such a distinguished audience and then speakers. Wish you productive and engaging panel discussion. Thank you for your attention.
Vice President Teresa, thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo. And thank you in particular for having reaffirmed the EIB's commitment to our joint objective to support especially startups and scale-ups in disruptive technologies. We are very happy to be able to count you as long-term partners in this endeavor. So turning to our panel, and turning first to Lina, if I may, can I start by asking you from the European Parliament's point of view, how you think the EU can ensure ultimately that national R&D investment strategies are harmonized with the 3% target, taking into account obviously disparities of starting points with very different R&D intensities between the member states, and presently the lack of coordination of public investment in Europe.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I think it's my 6th year participating in R&I Days since I really joined the European Parliament since 6 years ago. So it's very familiar, and I think this debate is very timely, as it has been said, and very important if we really want to improve our competitiveness and also our autonomy and the European project itself. So I think it is key, and we really need to take it seriously. But however, I think some answers lies on the research and development policy, but others lies on general policy, like for some of the investment and everything will be nice, really to have a capital market union, but I will not mention this one. But I think we really need to think also what else needs to be changed, and not only regarding R&D policies. I think in order to improve coordination also among member states and to push them to increase their commitment, the different member states should see the value of this coordination and this harmonization. And I think some member states do not, because as we know, especially innovation really tends to concentrate in certain areas that are very innovative itself. So it's really very difficult, and you coming from the Committee of Regions, is really very difficult to move also on this regional cohesion. In any case, I think for enhanced harmonization, we need really to strengthen incentives for participation. But for that, and this is very important in our opinion, is to address asymmetries in national capacity. I would say also regional capacities. It is true that we have some very good examples linked to the specialization and international coordination. Nordic countries are a good example for that. But it is also true that the specialization in every territory will not necessarily drive to higher investment or higher R&I intensity because of economic specialization. It is different all over Europe. And I think that is a problem we really should address if we want to improve also having important cohesion. And also, I think we need to enhance transparency and accountability, and to make stakeholders and also citizens aware of how important it is also to us to push their governments to increase that investment, and obviously to incentivize also the private sector to jump in. So some key steps could include leverage existing European Union instruments, and obviously thinking, well, Horizon Europe, obviously, or Digital Europe program, or the RRF that we know is close to an end in not a long time, but still we have still time to do it. Another tool we can use, obviously, is to strengthen the European semester. I've been the rapporteur for the European semester at the European Parliament, I think, 4 years ago. I think that the European semester has been strengthened all over years. We could use some kind of conditionality now through the semester, or we should use. However, we have also to take into consideration that we move towards certain flexibility for member states to decide their priorities. So we have really to find a balance on that as well. Another step, we could move on could be to create a common framework, meaning guidelines or investment strategies, even metrics. That would be good. I know a lot of work has been done already on that respect, but still probably more need to be done. Of course, we really need to address disparities proactively, probably through cohesion funds, but let's say what will happen now with cohesion funds. And we have also several tools already. We have the EIT, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. We have the Partnership for Regional Innovation. So all these tools, we really need to use it and to make the different regions and countries and stakeholders to know the resistance, because sometimes people don't know they exist. And finally, and I finished with that, I already mentioned before, but I think this is very important. And coming from Parliament, you could imagine it is important for us, is to promote accountability and transparency. I mean, we will have the competitive coordination tool, but we would like still to know how it will be. So I stop here. Thank you.
Good. So that's a call for the Commission to be transparent and accountable, right?
Well, the Commission and the member states and all the stakeholders, because I think in order, I mean, what happens sometimes with, and I finish with the agriculture funds or whatever, there is a lot of mobilization, but these funds decrease, but it does not happen with science and innovation. Mm-hmm. So we probably need to communicate better. And when I say we say we, all of us.
Thanks very much, Linda. We turn now to Markku.
Okay.
Now, you come from Finland, and Finland is a rather shining example among the member states, having very recently fixed the ambition for itself to reach, in fact, a rate of 4% of GDP for research and innovation, and foreseeing a certain division of labor between the public spending in that and what the private sector would be expected to do. And this is exactly what would interest me in particular. What is exactly the Finnish experience through which public policy has managed more effectively to leverage private R&D investment? And what would you recommend generally for the EU to do in order to stimulate private R&D investment?
Actually, thank you, and great to be here first. But I think the key message is that everywhere we need to respect more and invest more on the human capital, because that's the real renewable energy for mankind, and that's what we need for the nature as well. I come from Helsinki region, and one of the specialities when we talk about 3% or so, our regional council, we said, already approved a clear target with a roadmap how to reach the level of 5% of GDP investment, research and development. We are on that path. We need to do more, but it really requires a commitment of all the potential actors. And it requires a change more and more on the people's mindset, because living is making choices, learning to learn, learning to choose. And that is where we see our potential, not only for Finland, but for the whole world. And I think that is something crucial. But it requires that approximately 1/3 of these investments on R&D, they come from public, 2/3 from the private. So we need to encourage, and that is my kind of first kind of key message. I thought about 5 key messages that we need to speed up and scale up with industry. That's the only way. And we need to get the industry to be more committed on, especially now on Green Deal going local. What do we need to do? It's not only that we have facts about our footprint, what has happened where we are on our roadmap, but it needs to be handprint, new solutions, systems, processes, products, and what we call a half print, something what you need to have here. So it's every people need to see that Green Deal going local is not just only environment or nature, but it is our only thing that we need to invest more. Industrial investments, security investments, healthcare investments, need to find something new with the innovations. And there we come then to my second key message, that is we need to invest boldly in research and development, especially the strengths and potential breakthroughs. And that it requires a lot of European collaboration. How we can encourage our cities with their local industry, with their academia, large companies, small companies, really to see what is the potential breakthroughs and encourage them to make these investments. My third point is really that what, Lina, thank you, you brought up already the regions, but it's really local people, cities and municipalities. That's where the action is, because that's where the citizens are. That's what every city councillor is looking where to make these investments. We have 1 million elected city and municipality councillors in Europe. That's a potential strength. If we are one of those, so if we spend more time on learning new things and be open-minded. And that's my fourth message, so that we need to adapt the right mindset and encourage the leadership, both in companies, in cities, so that if we now take an example of the European Union missions, are the missions really the moonshots that everyone knows where we are going on? I'm very convinced that now we have found our way around the global orbit. So we look there what's going on in Europe, but do we have the knowledge solutions how to take the next rocket level to get higher, closer to the moon? And then we still need the third phase, how to land there. And the fourth phase, how to get back and bring some of the latest knowledge. So we have a lot to do on this, and this is about the leadership. It's about mindset. And this, the fifth then, is that how to orchestrate this systematic change. And that's why we need to do more on the local level, kind of Green Deal going local on all of these policy areas. And there we need to use the best knowledge, like from the EU missions, the climate city contracts, the investment plans, and so on. So there's much that we can offer now, and I'm happy so that I know quite many of those cities with their industry who are ready to make this transformation in a systematic format and get the others on board as well.
Thank you very much, Marco. Turning to Alexandre now. Given what is still a relatively fragmented EU market and also landscape for research in particular, what steps could the EU and national governments take to create a more unified ecosystem which would help industry scale up on an innovation basis, and more generally to help stimulate private research and innovation?
Is it a good sign or not?
We started too early, probably.
So first of all, thank you for the invite and good afternoon. So there are many elements in your questions. I try to structure a bit. I think a first comment is about. So I think there is the public finance and there is the private. You have the private investment, and I think when it comes to we see a lot of fragmentation on the public side, but also on the private capitals. So it was mentioned before, if you look at the private capitals, we need to make big steps in reducing, eliminating barriers for capital flows. So full implementation of the Savings and Investment Union, that is really critical. So that's one element. A second element is there is certainly a need to have stronger or better synergies between EU, national, here on the public, but also private, but very much on the public side of the equation. And I'd like to take one example. It's the IPCEIs, the Important Project of Common European Interest. There is a lot which can be said about this instrument. We think a number of points could be improved and should be improved, but this is a relevant instrument to bring stronger synergies and critical mass of investment, public and private, into common projects. So not being the silver bullet, nobody has a silver bullet, but this is one of the instruments we believe make a lot of sense in bringing more synergies and coordination in EU, national, public, and bringing the private investment also in R&I. Now, I think another aspect of your question, if I understand correctly, is also about how, and I gave some element of answers, but how all of this should be stimulating more private investment. Because I think the diagnosis you painted at the beginning is clear. You have differences by member states, you have differences by sector, but I think we all agree we need to invest more into R&D. But I would like to highlight a bit of a nuance. If we look at the innovation scoreboard from last year, for 2023 data, private investment in R&D in Europe compared to the year before have increased by almost 10%. This is a stronger increase than we have seen in the US and in China. So European headquarter companies are on a trend to increase investment in R&D. But of course, much more needs to be done, and we need to amplify this trend. That is very clear. And maybe finishing with two, so what we think we need additional to make big steps in terms of private investment in R&D. One is less regulatory cost. And I would maybe make a link with the simplification point which has been made by the Vice President. Companies, a lot of companies spend too much personnel, too much money into compliance with regulation. And this is money which is not available for investment in R&D. Some of you might have seen earlier this week a new study by the Danish government about regulatory cost of incoming legislations. It's 1.20 billion euros, private and public. This is about incoming legislations. Eurostat says 150 billion euros for existing regulatory cost of existing legislation. So put together, we are close to 300 billion euros of regulatory cost. If we put this in perspective with the European finance in R&D, I think it's 380 billion in 2023. So in terms of order of magnitude, it's still less than investment in R&D, but shouldn't this money be the money which is spent in regulatory costs, shouldn't it be to a large extent put into research and innovation? I think that's, so reducing regulatory costs is one of our asks. And the second one, and that's my last comment, I think all of you know about this, innovation is not spontaneous. Innovation does not happen just like this. Innovation happens because you have an ecosystem put in place. And this is what we need more at European level. We need more innovation hubs. We need more European ecosystem where you connect the public and the private stakeholders. Speaking about private stakeholders, where you connect the large and the small companies. So you connect all the relevant stakeholders around big European ecosystem for R&D. And for this, Horizon Europe, the future Horizon Europe will be key. That's why we are very supportive of increasing the budget, and we think the Commission proposal is a very good starting point. We hope it will not be the victim of negotiation at the end of the MFF, but it will stay very high. We need the money for research innovation to be ring-fenced and linked to the point I make about ecosystem, and we need strong Pillar 2 for strong investment in partnerships. So that would summarize our ask to increase private investment.
Many thanks. Many thanks also to you, Alexandre. And I understand these were your asks, but also your offers from the industry side. What struck me from your different interventions is that one constant was the need to focus on coordination. Marco mentioned leadership, that we should give a clear direction. Was perhaps a bit skeptical about the capacity of missions ultimately, or of moonshots as we have put them forward, to give this sense of commonality, of goals, of common objectives. Lina mentioned the European semester that can be used as a way of coordinating. You, Alexandre, you mentioned IPSAs as one very concrete tool which can serve, and then you finished also by mentioning generally partnerships under Horizon Europe. Around this this topic, broad topic of how to improve coordination in the future. Would you have any second round thoughts? I mean, I would be happy to hear, Do you like moonshots? You don't like moonshots?
No, I like.
What are you looking for?
Anyone. Let me start by saying I like the moonshots, definitely. But you, in the Commission and everywhere, we need to keep the ambitious target. We need to learn more about that. We need to get them so crucial for every mayor in the cities, so that they want to have a report every week on their table how is our city doing, especially on the mission cities, both adaptation, mitigation, soil, waters, and so on. So it is crucial that we are strongly committed and keep the ambition level high. But then we need as well so that the action happens more on the ground. So it requires more of this bottom-up activity. And there we need the cohesion funds, because that's really relying on the local level, understanding what are the needs, how to get, I've just discussed with the honorary president of the Club of Rome about social tension, how to get the people being really committed on making these ambitious changes, what are required. And that, to my understanding, was the key and has been the key message of Mario Draghi as well. Close the innovation gap, look globally, but as well invest heavily on decarbonizing not only industries, but our societies, but industry is a crucial role, and then the strategic autonomy, so that we, Europe, can show the rest of the world so that we take care of us and we show the others what we can be doing. And that's commitment. And that's where I think that taking Teresa as well. So we have had, during my CR presidency, we signed a special agreement with Investment Bank and us. Maybe we too, and maybe others as well, we should sit down and look from the agreement. So what were the targets? What concrete measures we could do together so that we motivate our Committee of the Region, 300 and so on, members, mayors, regional presidents, to do more based on this. And then we can get the private capital and capital market doing more.
Yeah, I like also, I completely agree with moonshots, so what I have been said, so I will not say I like them, but probably we have not implemented very well, or we have not been able to have also the citizens and the population really to move all together, and all the different stakeholders to move in the same direction to achieve this goal. But in theory and design are well done. I would like to continue to mention what I've said before regarding this lack of binding obligations, and probably regarding public expenditure is where we should move towards a more kind of binding obligations, just conditionality funding or legally binding targets. Obviously, we could use, as I said before, the European semester, or any kind of conditional funding mechanism, for instance, higher co-funding rates for projects in countries meeting incremental RNI. So a kind of certain also discrimination also to incentivize the different countries also to enforce a periodic reportment on in order to increase the transparency, as I was mentioning before. And but all of this measure will really improve probably the public investment, but we will have the problem how to boost the private investment. I know this is very important, so why you put the music for Business Europe and not for the rest. But this is still a problem, because the success of the Nordic country on mixing this specialization with the international coordination, it is very good if you have highly intensive sectors in which to specialize. But some countries are specialized in in sectors like services that are not very intensive in research and innovation. And this is a reality we have to face. And again, the problem I was bringing at the very beginning, how really we balance this investment we really need to do, this effort we really need to do with cohesion within Europe, is something that I think it is very important, because, and I move back to other things we have to do. I mentioned before capital market union, but probably we should move towards a more fiscal harmonization or own resources in order, I know no one wants to hear about any fiscal harmonization, but it is important. If we want to move on, at the end, we have also to move on in certain things we don't want to talk about it. But unless we do that, probably we will not really advance on this balance we really need. Otherwise, all the innovation will be concentrated in few places, and we will be losing many regions and many human capital that will be drained to other places. And that is not, I think, in my opinion, the union we would like to have. So I still see this problem, and probably we need to touch upon certain things that are very, very, very difficult to touch in order to maintain a kind of balance in between subsidiarity and solidarity. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lina, for being thought-provoking. Legally binding targets, I'm quite attracted. Excellent.
So quickly, I think being open and transparent, back to the moonshots, I think I'm not getting a lot from my membership on this. Be it the moonshot, being the missions. Is it for the good or the bad reasons? I'm not sure, but this is not what is coming strong from my membership as instruments or programs to structure and to better coordinate public and private investment in R&D. So I'm open here with you. What comes very strong is back to what I said before. If we speak about FP, this is about the partnerships, which probably can and should be improved in a number of aspects, but this is the instruments coming strongly from all the discussions we have with our constituency on ways to improve at that level the coordination. And maybe a short comment on target. I understand this is if I understand correctly, that's not the point you make, but yes, we at least on the private sector.
No, I was not talking about
That's not what you're talking about. Yeah, give us the right framework conditions, give us the right conditions, and we will improve the investment in R&D. We don't need any target there, but give us the right conditions.
Point very well taken, Alexandre. I just had a first look, and I think last look at the clock. We have already run over time while I sensed that we were only getting started. But this is probably the rule of the game here. I want to thank you all very much for what was quite thought-provoking. If I just pick up on certain topics that you have put forward, I can probably point to the recent Horizon Europe proposal, and I can point to ongoing reflections for future proposals. Talking about the Horizon Europe proposal, I hear you, Alexandre, on moonshots. But I really think industry should be looking at moonshots, and then, of course, should be, as practical as industry is, should be looking for concrete instruments, right? But for Europe to say, we want to be leaders in automated driving, knowing the importance, the centrality of the automotive industry in the industrial landscape in Europe is probably an obvious choice in a way, also knowing that we are not exactly running at the front of the pack for the moment on this. But I understand your point that it's about having the practical tools for effective collaboration between industries, and that their IPCEs, joint undertakings, other partnerships are the place to start. On conditionality, there is a conditionality which is being proposed in Horizon Europe, and I'll be curious to see what Council's and Parliament's reaction is to that. And it is very simple. It is to say, for those member states that are so-called widening countries, which we help specifically under Horizon Europe, the least that we are asking from them is that they don't diminish their national efforts. That's the conditionality, that in order to continue to benefit from European specific support. And looking to the future, you provided quite a bit of food for thought for what we are reflecting upon. As you know, and this was mentioned over the last 2 days quite often, there is a European Research Area Act, which is in preparation, and it should be about coordination. It should be about somehow stimulating the drive towards the 3% target. So thank you for irrigating the thinking there. And there is one more point, I think, which was very valid on the differences in structures in Europe. And I think we shouldn't be blind to that. It's not about, everyone doing 3%. I would say on this one, we are not NATO. We want 3% for Europe, for the EU overall. And we know some are beyond that today, right? Denmark is beyond that today. Finland has set itself a 4% goal. Germany has a 3.5% goal, and so on and so forth. And it would probably, in fact, not be economically rational for some economic structures to go for that 3%, because indeed it is more services, it is less R&I intensive. So this, I think, was a point worth clarifying. But more generally, what I take is that there is a general consensus that indeed there is urgency to do more, to do better, and to do together in the field of research and innovation going forward, and to do that fast. So thank you all very much for your participation, and back to the Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you so much, Marc Lemaitre, there, the Director General, of course, of the European Commission's RTD, and thank you so much. It was a fantastic panel. Marc, I think you could stay there all day. You were so into it. And of course, you took a lot of notes. Thanks also to the Vice President of the EIB as well for that absolutely brilliant speech. So this is kind of bringing us to the end of the R&I Days 2025, but the physical part, because of course it will remain online. You'll be able to watch back all the videos in your spare time. Tell your friends, your families, your cousins to watch them too. Spread the word. And also, there's a very exciting panoramic AI app that you'll be able to use after the event. It will go live tomorrow. So if you didn't have time to take notes through all those panels, you can use that app. It will be available for 3 months, and it will help you find exactly all the quotes and all the information that you need. Marc, I think we're going to watch a video as well together. But Marc, let's just briefly ask you what your takeaways perhaps were from the R&I Days 2025. Briefly, because we have gone beyond time.
My very simple takeaway is enormous gratitude. Enormous gratitude to everyone. Everyone in this room, all the speakers, all the panelists. The numbers are really, to me, exceptionally encouraging for the importance of the topic and its recognition. We have had 5,000 physical participants over the last 2 days, 5,000 online participants over the last 2 days. I'm very pleased, talking about panelists, that we in fact had a majority of women. And we will have to watch in the future not to have all women panels. We had some, and that's good. It's a good challenge for the future. We had a great exhibition with 17 projects presenting themselves. We had an app which was useful for setting up 500 meetings between participants. So I am really extremely grateful for this level of interest, commitment, mobilization, enthusiasm that these figures just illustrate. And I'd just like to finish by recalling one sentence which was spoken by Commissioner Zakharieva yesterday. Our mission is clear. We need to prepare a bright future for science and innovation. And I would add, choose Europe for that. And if you allow, I would want also to extend beyond the speakers, beyond the audience, obviously, all the people who have made this happen by working very discreetly behind the scenes and also very intensively over this summer in order to make this happen right à la rentrée. So technical and logistical support teams.
Yeah, round of applause.
They deserve it. Thank you. Our Sherpas and session organizers, our amazing communication unit, which put all of this together. And a special word to Giuseppe, who...
Where is Giuseppe? He should stand up.
For whom this is the last edition in this excruciating role, because he will move on, remaining, of course, on research, but I'm sure in coming years, coming to the R&I days with a lesser dose of stress and pressure on his shoulders. Thank you so much to you, Giuseppe, and to all the team. And obviously, thank you to our Master of Ceremonies. You really orchestrated this perfectly.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And one last word for Commissioner Zakharieva, who I think since the beginning of this mandate has really spearheaded this new drive for research and innovation for the benefit of Europe, and who has spent most of these last 2 days with us. That's all from me. And
That
you
is
said
a wrap.
you said there's a video or what?
That is a wrap from the stage. We will leave you, in fact, with this video. Thank you as well to this incredible audience. Stay in touch. We'll stay linked in, and we'll see you very soon. Enjoy your evening here in Brussels. And as I said, we'll leave you with this video to have a look. Welcome to the 6th edition of the European Research and Innovation Days 2025.
Together, we can ensure that European ideas become the industries of tomorrow.
European Commission is really determined to deliver by saying that we want to put research innovation at the heart of our competitiveness.
Research must drive economic growth and actively advance the well-being of people, nature, and the earth.
We have to prove that the European system can actually deliver. It can deliver on sustainability, and it can deliver also on the promise of a better future for our citizens.
This idea of peer-to-peer learning, showing children that they can educate each other, is also one that's gaining ground in science education.
We recognize that our current AI infrastructure must be significantly scaled up.